Right now, somewhere on Earth, someone is genuinely Googling, can I use mayonnaise as sunscreen? And the worst part? Thousands of people search it every single month. Today, we're diving into 49 real, verified, and gloriously dumb Google searches. Queries so bizarre, so unhinged. You'll wonder if autocorrect has fully given up on humanity. From people asking if they can microwave their pets, don't even think about it, to the eternal war of is water wet? These aren't AI jokes. These are actual search history disasters. Before we start, drop your wildest Google search in the comments. Was it, how do I know if I'm a hologram? Or something even more chaotic? We're reading every single one, and the funniest might appear in our next video. 1. A woman Googled how to unplug a charger without touching the metal, and the panic on her face looked like she was trying to defuse a missile, not unplug her phone. She held the cable like it might explode if she breathed too close to it. Her husband walked by, read the search, and froze like he had just witnessed the end of human intelligence. Even their toddler glanced up from his toy and gave her the slow, disappointed baby blink. Google's calm answer only made it worse, because she nodded seriously like she had just received classified information. When she finally unplugged it, she flinched so hard the dog barked, convinced something supernatural happened. 2. An uncle Googled, do twins have the same fingerprints? Right in the middle of a family dinner, like he had just uncovered a government-level mystery. He leaned over his phone with intense detective energy, ignoring the mashed potatoes getting cold. His teenage niece saw the search and nearly dropped her fork, whispering, "Is he okay?" The grandmother shook her head the way people do when they realize the family gene pool has some questionable branches. When Google finally told him they don't share fingerprints, he exhaled dramatically as if justice had been restored. He tapped the table proudly, saying, "Good. Crime shows can't fool me," while everyone wondered who exactly was fooling him in the first place. 3. A young man Googled, can you charge an iPhone in a potato? And he stared at the screen like he was moments away from inventing electricity itself. He held a potato in one hand and his phone in the other, squinting like he was calculating nuclear physics instead of kitchen science. His roommate walked in, saw the setup, and immediately backed away like he'd witnessed a crime in progress. Even the neighbor's cat sitting on the counter gave him a slow, judgmental stare. When Google explained it technically works but requires a ridiculous number of potatoes, he nodded seriously as if planning a potato-powered empire. He placed the potato down gently, disappointed like his dreams had just run out of battery. 4. An elderly woman Googled, why do cats purr when they're alone, while her cat sat right next to her, vibrating like a tiny tractor. She leaned toward the screen with deep suspicion, as if her pet was hiding a criminal secret. Her grandson looked over her shoulder and nearly laughed himself into a coma. The cat paused mid-purr and stared at her like it knew it was being investigated. When Google explained that cats usually purr for comfort or relaxation, she gasped dramatically and whispered, "So he's lying to me?" The grandson nodded just to mess with her, and the cat strutted away proudly, like it had successfully maintained its mysterious reputation. 5. A teenage girl Googled, is water wet, like she was preparing for a Supreme Court debate. She leaned over her phone with absolute intensity while her friends sat around her arguing like philosophers who hadn't slept in 3 days. One kid claimed water was self-moist, another said the question was illegal, and someone in the back started crying from confusion. When Google gave its vague, science-heavy explanation, she read it like it was ancient scripture. The whole group nodded slowly, pretending they understood, while the pool beside them sparkled in silent judgment for being dragged into this argument yet again. 6. A middle-aged man Googled how to microwave water safely, as if he was unlocking forbidden sorcery. He stood in his kitchen, staring at a mug like it was a ticking time bomb. His wife walked in, saw the search, and immediately grabbed the fire extinguisher just in case. The microwave beeped ominously, making him jump like he'd heard a ghost whisper his name. When he read about superheating and exploding water, he screamed, "Nope!" and dumped the whole mug into the sink. The dog watched everything with the calm wisdom of someone who had seen many human disasters before. 7. A young woman Googled, can I use mayonnaise as sunscreen? While standing in front of a mirror, holding a jar of mayo like it was SPF 50. Her best friend saw her and made the exact face people make when their favorite show gets canceled. She whispered, "Please tell me this is a prank." But the woman stayed completely serious, checking the jar label like it might suddenly say, "Now with UV protection." When Google confidently said no, she sighed with genuine disappointment. Her friend grabbed the mayo away and replaced it with real sunscreen, while the jar sat on the counter, humiliated but relieved. 8. A dad Googled, "Do fish get thirsty?" while watching his goldfish swim in slow, majestic circles. He crouched by the tank, whispering, "Buddy, do you need a drink?" as if the fish could answer. His daughter walked in, saw him, and immediately asked if he was having a midlife crisis. The goldfish paused, stared at him, then flicked its tail like it was filing a complaint. When Google explained, "Fish don't feel thirst like humans do," he nodded in deep relief, patting the tank like he'd just saved a tiny aquatic soul. The fish swam away dramatically, clearly done with this conversation. 9. A college student Googled, "How to tell if a watermelon is ripe by knocking," while standing in the grocery store tapping melons like he was auditioning for a fruit orchestra. Other shoppers stopped to watch, wondering if this was a ritual or performance art. An older lady joined him, tapping her own melon like a seasoned fruit detective. When Google said to listen for a deep, hollow sound, he nodded seriously and tapped louder, causing an employee to peek around the corner in confusion. He finally picked one with confidence, holding it up triumphantly like he just solved a national mystery. 10. A young mom Googled, "Can you sneeze with your eyes open?" after she nearly sneezed while driving and felt her life flash before her. She sat in her parked car testing it by staring wide-eyed at the steering wheel, looking absolutely unhinged. Her son in the back seat watched her with big eyes, clutching his juice box like this was the strangest thing he'd ever seen. When Google said yes, but it's uncomfortable, she nodded like she'd just learned an ancient martial art. Then she tried again, failed instantly, and her son whispered, "Mom, please stop scaring the car." 11. A teenage boy Googled, "What happens if you swallow gum?" right after accidentally gulping down 3 pieces during class. He sat at his desk stiff as a statue, convinced his stomach was about to turn into a sticky time capsule. His friend leaned over, saw the search, and whispered, "Bro, are you dying?" The teacher noticed his panic and gave him the concerned eyebrow, raised teacher's reserve for weird emergencies. When Google calmly explained it just passes through like normal food. He sighed so loudly the class turned to stare. His friend patted his back dramatically, acting like he'd just survived a medical miracle. 12. A curious grandma Googled, "Is it illegal to name your child Messiah in Tennessee?" while watching a court show on TV. She gasped so loudly the whole family rushed into the living room, thinking someone fell. She pointed at the screen with the seriousness of a lawyer revealing evidence. Her grandson read the search and said, "Grandma, who are you naming?" She shushed him like she was protecting state secrets. When Google confirmed it actually caused a real court case, she nodded with intense satisfaction. The family walked away confused while she made a mental list of baby names just to stay informed. 13. A nervous man Googled, "Can a toaster float in bathwater?" while drawing a relaxing bath after a long day. The moment he saw the toaster nearby on the counter, he panicked like it was plotting against him. His wife walked in, saw the search, and nearly yelled, "Why is that your first thought?" He pointed at the toaster with betrayal, as if it had personally threatened him. When Google basically screamed no through safety warnings, he unplugged the toaster so fast it squeaked across the counter. He spent the rest of his bath staring at the bathroom door, making sure no more appliances tried to assassinate him. 14. A little girl Googled, "Do bananas have bones?" after eating a mushy spot and deciding it felt suspiciously skeleton-like. She held the banana up to the light like a detective inspecting clues. Her dad overheard her saying, "Show me your bones," and nearly spit out his coffee. The family gathered around the table as she explained her theory with dramatic hand gestures. When Google said bananas are berries with no bones, she narrowed her eyes, clearly not convinced. She took another bite slowly, glaring at the fruit like it was hiding something. The dad whispered, "She's definitely starting a cult." 15. A distracted teenager Googled how to dry a dog in the microwave after giving the family dog a bath and realizing the towel was missing. His mom saw the search and screamed so loud the neighbor's lights turned on. The dog, soaking wet, stared at him with betrayal so intense it could melt steel. When Google showed giant warning signs, the teen panicked and grabbed every towel in the house at once. The mom lectured him for 20 minutes while the dog sat wrapped like a burrito, glaring the whole time. The teen swore to never touch the microwave again. 16. An old man Googled, "Can you use ketchup to clean pennies?" while sorting coins at his kitchen table, like a miniature treasure hunter. He squeezed ketchup onto a plate and stared at it with deep scientific concern. His granddaughter found him hovering over the coin like a mad professor. She asked if he was doing witchcraft again. When Google confirmed ketchup actually works, he lit up like a kid discovering magic. He cleaned the penny proudly, holding it up to the window dramatically. The granddaughter clapped even though she had no idea what was happening. 17. A frequent flyer Googled, "Why don't airplanes have parachutes for passengers?" while nervously gripping the armrest before takeoff. His seatmate read the search over his shoulder and silently reconsidered sitting next to him. The flight attendant walked by, saw his pale face, and offered a complimentary ginger ale. When Google explained physics, weight, and 500 winds, he nodded with a shaky smile that fooled no one. He spent the entire flight imagining himself yeeting out of the emergency exit like a cartoon. The seatmate pretended to sleep to avoid further discussions. 18. A mom Googled, "Is the 5-second rule real?" after dropping her cookie on the floor and catching her kid staring at her like a judge. She froze mid-bend, holding the cookie with guilt. The child crossed his arms, waiting for the verdict. When Google explained the truth depends on floor cleanliness, she inspected the tile like a forensic investigator. The kid whispered, "Mom, just throw it away." She reluctantly agreed and tossed it out while the kid nodded approvingly, like the head of the hygiene police. 19. A bored office worker Googled, "Can you get Wi-Fi from a potato?" during a painfully long meeting. He hid his phone under the table, holding a potato from lunch like it was about to connect to the cloud. His coworker peeked, saw the search, and had to bite their lip to avoid bursting into laughter. When Google said potatoes can power a clock but not the internet, he slumped back in his chair like his dreams had just been fried. The potato rolled off the desk dramatically, sealing the disappointment. 20. A science-loving kid Googled, "How long can a snail sleep?" while watching one slowly climb up a window. He tapped the glass gently, convinced the snail might be in a multi-year coma. His mom walked by, saw his worried face, and asked if the snail owed him money. When Google explained snails can sleep for up to 3 years, he gasped like he'd uncovered a conspiracy. He gently petted the window and whispered, "Wake up, King." The snail continued crawling at its usual speed, completely ignoring his emotional support. 21. A nervous teen Googled, "Can you drown in a teaspoon of water?" right after accidentally inhaling a tiny sip while brushing his teeth. He staggered into the living room, coughing dramatically like he'd survived a shipwreck. His sister watched him flop onto the couch and asked, "Are you rehearsing for a movie or something?" When Google explained that yes, technically it's possible if it enters the airway, he sat up with the slow horror of someone realizing life is fragile. His mom walked in and shook her head, saying, "Stop drinking water like a toddler." The teen nodded solemnly and vowed to respect liquids forever. 22. A middle-aged woman Googled, "Do spiders fart?" after watching a tiny spider crawl across her bathroom floor with suspicious confidence. She crouched down, squinting like the spider owed her answers. Her husband walked in, saw her kneeling on the tiles, and immediately backed away because he knew better than to get involved. When Google said spiders probably do fart, she gasped like she'd been betrayed by nature itself. The spider paused mid-crawl, as if offended by the accusation. She backed away dramatically, muttering, "I didn't need to know that," while the spider continued its business without shame. 23. A confused college girl Googled, "Can I bake a cake in a dishwasher?" after seeing a viral video and panicking that she'd been living wrong her whole life. She opened her dishwasher, stared inside like she was mentally preheating it. Her roommate walked in and screamed, "No!" before she even touched a single button. When Google confirmed that yes, people really try this, but it's definitely not recommended, she slapped the dishwasher shut like it had tempted her into sin. The roommate sat down and delivered a long lecture while she nodded shamefully, clutching her cake mix box like a guilty criminal. 24, a history-obsessed teen Googled, "Why do we say bless you after sneezes?" After sneezing so loudly his grandma nearly jumped out of her chair. He wiped his nose dramatically and ran to his phone like he was uncovering ancient secrets. Grandma told him it was to keep demons away, which only made him Google faster. When the search explained it came from old superstition in plague times, he stared at the screen with wide eyes. His grandma crossed her arms triumphantly, saying, "Told you." He nodded nervously, now convinced his sneeze had started a chain reaction of cosmic energy. 25, an anxious young woman Googled, "Is it possible to be addicted to water?" after realizing she chugged 6 bottles without blinking. Her roommate watched her refill again and whispered, "Is everything okay at home?" She quickly opened to Google, worried she'd join a support group called Water Anonymous. When the search confirmed water addiction is real in rare cases, she gasped dramatically. Her roommate grabbed the bottle away slowly, like defusing a bomb. She sat on the couch, clutching a blanket, whispering, "I just like hydration." The roommate nodded sympathetically while secretly hiding the rest of the water bottles. 26, a tech-loving uncle Googled, "Can a pigeon deliver email?" right after seeing carrier pigeons mentioned in a documentary. He stared out the window at a random bird like he was preparing to hire it. His nephew walked by and asked, "Are you about to start a bird business?" The uncle nodded thoughtfully, imagining pigeon mail going viral. When Google revealed pigeons actually beat broadband once in Australia, he nearly fainted from excitement. He ran outside with birdseed yelling, "We're going digital." The pigeon flew away instantly, refusing the job offer. 27, a mother Googled, "Do goldfish have 3-second memories?" while tapping the glass of her son's aquarium like she was testing his intelligence. The goldfish stared back blankly, floating like a tiny philosopher. Her son ran over, horrified, yelling, "Stop tapping! He's sensitive!" When Google explained goldfish actually remember things for months, she gasped with dramatic shame. She apologized to the fish while her son crossed his arms like a stern guardian. The goldfish flicked its tail smugly, clearly enjoying the newfound respect. 28, a teenage boy Googled, "Can you charge a phone with a lemon?" while holding a lemon up to his dead phone like he was performing a ritual. His friend filmed him, convinced this would end up in a science fail compilation. When Google said yes, but you'd need thousands of lemons for even 1% battery, the boy stared at the lemon with betrayal. He placed it down gently, whispering, "You lied to me." His friend laughed so hard he almost dropped the camera. 29, a sci-fi fan Googled, "How to tell if you're a hologram?" after binge-watching too many TV shows. He walked around his room tapping walls like he was checking for glitches. His sister saw him waving his hand through the air dramatically and muttered, "Not this again." When Google explained hologram theories, he nodded seriously like he was accepting his destiny. He touched his arm, whispered, "I feel real. But do I?" His sister rolled her eyes so hard she nearly saw another dimension. 30, a tired dad Googled, "Can you use a banana as a phone?" after seeing his toddler pretend call grandma with one. He picked up a banana, held it to his ear, and said, "Hello," with full commitment. His wife walked in and froze like she'd caught him doing something illegal. When Google listed the history of banana-shaped phones, he nodded like he'd just found proof of his sanity. The toddler giggled and held up another banana, starting a full banana conference call. The wife sighed and left the room, questioning all her life choices. 31, a confused man Googled, "What happens if you Google while staring at the search bar like he was about to break the universe?" He hesitated, worrying he might open a cosmic loop that summoned tech support from another dimension. His coworker looked over his shoulder and whispered, "Dude, don't do it. You're not ready." He clicked anyway, flinching like something explosive might happen. When the same Google page simply reloaded, he sat back in disappointment, whispering, "So that's it?" His coworker laughed so hard he nearly fell off the chair. The man nodded seriously, claiming he had just tested the fabric of reality, while his computer quietly judged him. 32, a grandmother Googled, Is my reflection real? While staring into her bathroom mirror with deep suspicion. She poked her cheek gently, waiting for her reflection to poke back. Her granddaughter walked in and found her inch from the mirror, like a detective interrogating a suspect. When Google explained reflections are simply light bouncing, Grandma frowned like light itself had betrayed her trust. She whispered, "So she's not a real person?" pointing at the mirror. The granddaughter nodded slowly, trying not to laugh. Grandma stepped away dramatically, declaring she needed time to process this. Even the mirror seemed confused by the emotional damage it had just caused. 33, a young astronaut-obsessed boy Googled, "Can you get Wi-Fi in space while wearing a plastic space helmet from a costume set?" He sat on the couch typing with extreme seriousness, convinced NASA might recruit him if he learned enough. His mom watched him from the doorway, trying not to laugh at his intense concentration. When Google explained the ISS has Wi-Fi but Mars buffering still suffers, he gasped as if he'd discovered forbidden knowledge. He tapped his helmet and whispered, "So astronauts can watch YouTube?" His mom nodded and he ran around the living room shouting, "I'm going to space!" while the helmet slid over his eyes repeatedly. 34, a nature-loving girl Googled, "Do trees talk to each other?" after noticing two trees in the park leaning suspiciously close. She stared at them like she was catching them sharing gossip. Her father saw her whispering to a trunk and nearly dropped his coffee. When Google confirmed trees communicate through fungal networks, she gasped like she'd just discovered a magical conspiracy. She placed her hand on the bark lovingly, whispering, "I hear you." Her father backed away slowly, unsure whether to laugh or call someone for help. The trees swayed gently in the wind, adding dramatic timing she absolutely believed was intentional. 35, a farmer Googled, "Can a chicken live without a head?" after hearing a bizarre rumor at the feed store. He walked into the coop, staring at his chickens with horror and curiosity. His wife saw him inspecting them like a scientist and shouted, "Don't you dare test anything!" When Google confirmed the legend of Mike the Headless Chicken, he froze like reality had glitched. He whispered, 18 months? In pure disbelief. The chickens clucked nervously, sensing weird energy. His wife dragged him out of the coop, reminding him he wasn't allowed to conduct barnyard experiments. He nodded sheepishly, still haunted by the image. 36, a bored teenager Googled, "Why do we park in driveways and drive on parkways?" after failing his vocabulary quiz. He sat on the porch staring at his driveway like it had personally lied to him. His older brother walked by and saw the search, instantly laughing at the dramatic confusion on his face. When Google delivered a long, linguistic explanation, the teen squinted like he was deciphering ancient scrolls. He threw his hands up, shouting, "English is broken!" His brother clapped mockingly in agreement. Even the mailbox seemed to stare in quiet sympathy for the chaos of the language. 37, a British tourist Googled, "Is it illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament?" after hearing a bizarre fact on a tour. He stood outside the building, clutching his phone dramatically, as if he might accidentally break the law by breathing too hard. His wife rolled her eyes, whispering, "Please don't embarrass me." When Google confirmed the strange law exists in theory, he gasped like he'd uncovered a royal secret. He stepped back from the building carefully, muttering, "I'm too young for treason." The tour guide laughed while his wife dragged him away, apologizing for his paranoia. 38, a foodie mom Googled, "Can you eat ornamental kale?" while standing in her garden holding a leaf like a judge deciding its fate. Her son watched her with confusion, asking if dinner was about to become dangerous. She sniffed the kale dramatically, unsure if it was edible or decorative poison. When Google confirmed it's safe but bitter, she nodded thoughtfully. She took a tiny bite, made a face like she'd licked a shoe, and immediately threw it into the compost. Her son laughed so hard he fell over. She stormed back inside, declaring, "That plant lied to me." 39, a marine biology student Googled, "Do octopuses dream?" after seeing her pet octopus change colors while resting. She leaned over the tank with awe, taking notes like she was preparing for a research paper. Her roommate walked in and nearly screamed at the glowing tank, thinking the creature was planning an escape. When Google suggested octopuses likely dream, she gasped like she'd witnessed a scientific miracle. The octopus shifted colors again, and she whispered, "He's dreaming of adventure." The roommate backed away slowly, completely unsettled by the intensity of the moment. 40, a DIY-loving dad Googled, can you use a potato to remove rust? While holding a rusty pan and a potato like they were dual weapons. His daughter walked into the kitchen and asked, are you starting a science project or losing your mind? He proudly sliced the potato, smearing it on the pan with dramatic flair. When Google confirmed the oxalic acid works, he cheered triumphantly. The daughter clapped sarcastically while he scrubbed like a warrior cleaning a legendary sword. When the pan actually started to shine, he gasped proudly, whispering, behold, potato magic. 41, a bored kid Googled, how to tell if your goldfish is bored. After noticing his fish floating in one spot like it had given up on life, he pressed his face to the tank, whispering, buddy, do you need hobbies? His mom walked in and saw him shaking a tiny plastic castle at the fish like a salesman. When Google suggested adding toys, he sprinted through the house, gathering marbles, fake plants, and even a Lego piece. The fish watched him assemble everything with mild confusion. When he finally dropped in a fish-safe toy, the goldfish swam through it dramatically, proving even fish enjoy a little excitement. 42, a young woman Googled, is it safe to lick a 9V battery after watching her cousin dare a group of friends to try it? She held the battery in her hand like it was both a scientific breakthrough and a terrible idea. Her older brother saw her expression and yelled, put that down unless you want to taste metal for a week. When Google confirmed it's safe but definitely unpleasant, she tapped the battery against her tongue and immediately screamed. Her brother burst out laughing while she ran to the sink, swearing she was done with science forever. 43, an old gardener Googled, can you train a squirrel? After a squirrel kept stealing tomatoes from his backyard. He sat in his lawn chair with crumbs in his hand, whispering, come here, little thief. His neighbor peeked over the fence, confused by the strange negotiation happening. When Google said squirrels can be trained with patience and food, he lit up like he'd discovered treasure. He tossed a nut gently, and the squirrel cautiously approached. After a few tries, the squirrel took the treat, staring at him with suspicious respect. The gardener stood proudly, declaring a temporary peace treaty. 44, a curious teenager Googled, why do flamingos stand on one leg after staring at a picture in her biology book? She tried copying the pose herself and nearly toppled over like a newborn giraffe. Her dad walked in just in time to watch her flail, instantly questioning the school system. When Google explained flamingos do it to conserve heat, she gasped like she'd unlocked elite bird knowledge. She attempted the pose again, wobbling dramatically. Her dad clapped sarcastically as she fell onto the couch, mumbling, I am not built like a flamingo. 45, a high school boy Googled, can you get high off Sharpies after overhearing rumors in the hallway? He held the marker like it was a forbidden artifact. His older sister slapped it out of his hand, instantly yelling, no, your brain is already fragile enough. When Google explained it's dangerous and harmful, he nodded with wide-eyed fear. He backed away from the marker like it was radioactive, whispering, never again. His sister shook her head dramatically, while the Sharpie rolled away like it was disappointed in the entire family. 46, a sweet grandma Googled, do cows have best friends? While watching a farming documentary. She clasped her hands together with excitement. Her grandson saw her beaming at the TV and asked what had her so emotional. When Google confirmed cows really do form best friend bonds, she squealed with pure joy. She spent the rest of the day telling everyone she knew about cow friendships. The grandson nodded politely while wondering why he suddenly felt guilty for every burger he'd ever eaten. 47, a frantic dad Googled, can you use a hairdryer to defrost a turkey on Thanksgiving morning after forgetting to thaw it overnight? He stood over the frozen bird, blasting it with hot air like he was interrogating a suspect. His wife walked in, screamed, and yanked the dryer away before he started a culinary disaster. When Google explained it's a dangerous idea, he sighed in defeat. They placed the turkey in cold water together while the kids laughed at the turkey blowout incident. The dryer stayed unplugged for the rest of the holiday. 48, a teen gamer Googled, is it possible to sneeze while sleeping? After waking up convinced his sneeze had jumped him awake. He sat on his bed replaying the moment like it was a paranormal event. His cousin heard him sniffling dramatically and asked if the house was haunted. When Google explained the brain usually prevents sneezing during sleep, He gasped in amazement. He reenacted the moment with too much enthusiasm, confusing his cousin even more. From that night on, every tiny sniff made him suspicious. 49, a young adventurer Googled, "Can you outrun a lava flow?" after watching a volcano documentary at 3 a.m. He stood in the living room practicing sprint positions like he was training for survival. His brother walked in, saw the stance, and immediately questioned every life choice that led to this moment. When Google said some lava moves slowly but toxic gases and terrain make escape unlikely, the guy froze mid-squat. He whispered, "So basically, no." His brother nodded dramatically. He turned off the documentary and muttered, "Okay, I'm staying far away from volcanoes." And that was just 49 of the dumbest Google searches ever made. But you already know humanity is out there right now typing something even worse. So before you click away, drop the wildest thing you've ever Googled. No judgment, only comedy. The funniest ones will get featured in our next video. And if you want more chaos, hit like, smash subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss the next episode of Internet Stupidity. Trust me, your search history might be the next big plot twist.